you ever felt like getting a lead in top lane just didn't matter because of team difference? Well, I hate to break it to you, but if you get a lead in plat or below as a top laner and you lose, it's almost certainly your own fault. The biggest reason I see for this, time and time again, is top laners having no idea how to convert a lead once they get one, which causes them to have almost zero impact on the outcome of a game just because they don't have some easy to understand game knowledge that I'm about to teach you. So let me show you what I mean. Alright, so the Jax in this game gets a pretty big lead on the enemy Kale, which is of course needed since Kale scales so well. They trade 1-for-1 at level 2 and Jax gets his first solo kill at level 5. Then he gets another at level 7, putting him at 3-1. Then he gets another about a minute later. So at this point he's 4-1, and he's against Kale, so she's really weak now. This is a good place to start. When Jax gets back to lane, look at the minion wave. Kale is missing, so if you were him, what would you do next? Freeze, hard push, or slow push? Let's start with the wrong answers. I'm sure a lot of you said to freeze here, which isn't correct. This is one of the most common misconceptions in lower ranks, and is a huge contributor to why you aren't pushing leads as hard as you should be. You guys have to understand, freezing is a situational thing that you mainly use when someone takes a bad recall or has a bad wave, just like this. But the difference here is, it's 10 minutes in the game. Freezing is much stronger when it comes to punishing bad waves the earlier it is. The reasons for that are, 1, the amount of experience in between each level is much higher at this point, so if someone takes a bad recall at level 3 and you freeze, you will easily have at least 1 level up on them. This late in the game though, it could easily not even amount to a full level, since you need a much more experience to level up. And then 2, early in the game, you're obviously weaker in general, and so is the enemy. Meaning, if they try to roam, odds are it really won't work, so you can just hold that freeze and get an experience advantage. But later on in the game like this, the enemy top could look to roam to mid, or to anything really, to make a play while you freeze. And 3, finally, early in the game, if you freeze, the enemy top can't do any jungle camp. Not only will they take too much health trying to do them, but their jungler needs those camps early on, so they would just be trolling their jungler. Alright, so now that you know why freezing is bad at this point in the game, let's talk about the next 2 options. Fast push or slow push. I would have accepted either answer here, since the correct answer was just push. To know to fast or slow push is situational, so let's talk about it a bit. Fast pushing gets you immediate pressure basically. You're getting on their tower right away for tower plates, and if they are not in the immediate area, this is how they would lose the most. Slow pushing is the most punishing thing if they don't get back before you crash the big wave, or if you can get a chunk of their health before crashing and then dive them. That's the most optimal punish. Diving is something that takes practice though, and I know most Lulu players rarely dive. To tell which one you should do, you have to consider the factors. What do you think they are doing? Recalling, farming, a jungle camp, warding, roaming? What champion are they playing? Are they someone that's impossible to dive, so you want to get on their tower for some plates ASAP, etc. In this game, it's Jax vs Kale. Kale is very weak and can be dove easily, so fast push and slow push are viable options. It all depends on what Jax would think Kale is doing. If he thinks Kale is doing Gromp, then he should slow push. If he thinks she's roaming, he should push fast. Let's see what happens. Jax ends up freezing here for a while, and Kale does Gromp. Then Kale comes back to lane, drops a ward in river, and tries to farm a bit but finds it too dangerous. But she does hit level 8 in the process, and this is where you can really see what I was talking about earlier. With how long Jax has been freezing, along with the big lead he already had, you would think he would have a 2 or 3 level lead, but because you need so much more experience to level up, he's only 1 level ahead. But Kale's gonna leave again here, and look what she ends up doing. She gets a kill in the low health Katarina in mid. Now, low elo players, and actually a lot of diamond players, have a really bad habit here, where they think that if they are freezing at 10 minutes in the game, everyone else on their team is supposed to just stop playing and not die. That's not how this game works. This game 100% revolves around pressure. Let's say that Kale didn't get a kill here, but ran to mid, shoved the wave, and is just hitting the tower with her mid laner since Katarina is low, and they're getting tower plates. That is putting pressure on Jax and his entire team to stop this. So Jax might start pushing because of it, his jungler might move to mid to stop it, etc. This is called reactive gameplay. The concept of playing proactively instead of reactively is so important that even pro teams lose games because of it. I'm not going to completely cover proactive versus reactive gameplay here, as that requires its own video, but essentially, if Jax was pushing like he was supposed to, Kale can't just leave top lane and let Jax take all the plates for free, while Kale loses all the CS. On top of this, and this is a really big one, by pressuring top constantly, Jax would turn the tables on them and make the enemy jungle feel like they need to stop him, just like with Kale's pressure in mid. When you're winning, you want the enemy jungler to gank, especially when you're versus someone weak like Kale. Jax can easily 1v2 versus Gwen and Kale, as his E is good versus both. The more time the enemy jungler is ganking you and failing at it, the less time they're spending killing your teammates, or farming, or doing objectives. But she's fine to leave since she can't walk up to the frozen wave, and she's not losing plates anyways. Kale actually deserves to win this game more than Jax right now. You might be thinking though, but if I push, the enemy top laner gets farm. Right, and that's why the most optimal punish is diving them. It doesn't have to be a full-blown 100-0 dive. You can just go for a few small chunks while taking a tower shot or two with each one and then eventually dive. But either way, the point is, you're getting plates, you have pressure, and the enemy top can't do anything but react to what you're doing. They don't really have other options that aren't basically trolling. Alright, so after Kale left the lane, Jax eventually started pushing, and then Kale got the kill. Then Jax gets the wave under tower. Now let's pause. See how Kale is just now getting back to lane? Let's watch Jax push the wave again. Notice how he rarely uses any abilities. If he used them, he would have pushed the wave faster. If he pushed the wave faster, what could he have done? He could have went straight past the tower into the enemy tribe rush and made sure Kale either didn't get back to lane by killing her, or at least made her use ult and lose a lot of health, and that would eventually lead to a free dive anyways. And of course, if Jax was pushing from the start like I talked about, he would have easily been able to do this stuff. Instead of getting a huge punish like that, Jax just tries to ignore the Kale and hit the tower. He gets one plate, but loses a good amount of health for it. On top of this, Kale gets back for a lot of that CS. So all Jax really got for this was one plate, while Kale got the freedom to get a kill mid and make it back to top to catch a lot of farm. So now let's look at a high elo example of this. This is from Masters, and it's Ergot vs Darius. Ergot is pushing the lane, and his jungler ganks. They get the Darius kill, and then Ergot crashes the wave, gets a plate, and goes to reset. When Ergot gets back to lane, Darius has a pretty big wave with him from slow pushing. Ergot can't fight him, but Darius doesn't walk the wave into tower to prevent Ergot from freezing. So technically, Ergot could easily freeze here using his E as a shield to prevent some minion damage, but he doesn't, which is the right play. By letting the wave crash, he can clear it faster because his tower will help him and he can get it pushing back the other way as soon as possible. And while doing this, Darius runs towards mid and kills Ergot's jungler. But at least he's pushing as fast as he can. And because of that, he gets the wave on the tower, denies minions just like he would have if it was frozen, and is about to get a plate. If he knew where the enemy jungler was and where Darius would come from, he could even cut him off and prevent him from coming to lane altogether. But he continues pushing and pressuring, so Darius tries to all in after landing his E. Ergot is ahead though, so he still wins the 1v1. So you can see how pushing put pressure that Darius was forced to respond to and got Ergot more than freezing would have. This last game is Gwen vs Jax in Grandmasters. Gwen is winning pretty hard, so she's been getting a lot of tower damage. Jax tries to go farm some jungle camps here, but Gwen just hard pushes. Now Jax is feeling the pressure to get back to lane to stop this, but Gwen got enough damage on the tower to get it low enough that she could tank Jax and take the tower, which leads to another kill as well. So she got the plates, the tower, and a kill, because she put pressure on Jax to do something about her, and he misjudged how fast she could take it while tanking his damage. That's what pressure does. It forces the enemy to make a decision.
So you might be asking yourself, why go to skillcap.com to improve when I could just watch YouTube guides or play the game? Well, let me show you. Let's say you're a top laner who's struggling to climb the ladder. Not only would you get over 45 site exclusive courses for top lane, but maybe really what you've been struggling with is trading in top lane. Well, we got you covered with 4 different courses breaking down how to trade as a top laner. Not only do we have the largest catalog of guides for League of Legends in the entire world with over 1,500 videos to watch, but these are then curated by the top coaches and players into courses on every skill and topic you need to master in order to truly improve and climb the ladder. If all of this wasn't enough, we haven't even touched on our catalog of over 700 Smurf commentaries, where a challenger expert shows you how to climb out of your rank and you're guaranteed to get any questions answered by them directly. Not to mention, we're the only service to offer a rank improvement guarantee. If you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCap, you can claim a refund, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Head to skillcap.com and get the rank you've always wanted. Link in the description below.
Alright guys, so I hope this video cleared up any misconceptions on freezing, since it's one of, if not the most common low elo mistake when players are trying to push leads. That's going to bring us to the end of this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.